I write my lyrics, it's like, yo, I want my shit to be fat. I want people to be able to understand. Anybody can rhyme, you know what I'm saying? But it's what you saying that makes a person know about you. You know what I'm saying? You know what type of person you is. So it's like, really, I'm just more or less being a street narrator.
Welcome to the second installment of Worst to First, the series where I take a season-by-season look at team liveries and rank them according to my own personal tastes. In this video, we'll be taking a trip back to the dawn of the millennium, as I'll be covering the most upvoted suggestion from my last video, the 2001 season. This was a period marked by the emergence of the factory teams, as road vehicle manufacturers which had previously competed in the sport as engine suppliers were now beginning to join the grid as fully fledged Formula One outfits. It was a season steeped in a set of regulations which gave birth to the aerodynamic era, as Formula One cars by this point had more in common with fighter aircraft than the common road car. The ever-spiralling costs and complexities of running a competitive Formula One team had seen many privateer teams fall by the wayside, as an influx of well-financed factory teams rose to take their place. Alongside the championship-winning Ferrari squad, we had teams such as Jaguar, the works Ford entity, which had purchased Stewart Grand Prix in late 1999 after 3 years of close association, along with the now Renault-owned BENETTON team, following the French auto company's purchase of the BENETTON team's assets. Japanese constructors Honda, after briefly considering entering the sport as a constructor in 1999, had finally returned after a period of absence as an engine supplier, whilst compatriots Toyota spent the 2001 season testing ahead of their planned F1 entry. Eventually all of these automakers, along with the recently returned BMW, would appear on the grid as works entities in the years to follow. Season 2001 was also noted for the beginning of the tyre war, as French suppliers Michelin enjoyed a successful comeback to the sport, going head-to-head with longtime Japanese suppliers Bridgestone. It was a season in which 6 drivers made their Formula One debut, including stars such as Juan Pablo Montoya and future world champions Kimi Raikkonen and Fernando Alonso. Most resoundingly, it was a season which belonged to Ferrari and Michael Schumacher, as the great German maestro took out his 4th world championship in a canter. From a livery standpoint, 2001 proved to be an exciting year, so without any further introduction, let's take a look at the team liveries of 2001. Occupying the lowest rank this year is the normally rather colourful Benetton team. 2001 was of course a season of changeover for the Enstone squad, as Group Renault by this time had assumed a 100% share in the team, yet was still not quite ready to compete as a manufacturer. And so, in preparation for a full-scaled launch in season 2002, we have the Renault-owned Benetton team racing with the B201, the final car constructed by Benetton. Benetton was a team which always came to the party with a bold and busy livery. Unfortunately, this 2001 swan song doesn't do the team much justice, and lacks any distinctive design motifs or interaction with the sponsors' logos. One thing I do like about this livery is the way Mild 7 would take on the drivers' names at tobacco ban races, which happened to add some personality to the cars. Benetton was also one of a handful of teams to honour the victims of 9/11 by placing a small American flag on its car's monocoque. However, sadly for the exiting Benetton team, these factors aren't really enough for me to bump this livery any higher up the list. Coming in at number 10 we have British American Racing with what was probably in my opinion the best looking livery the team ever had. The BAR cars from season 2000 onwards always looked quite sensible and snappy in their appearance, and I've always admired the car's crisp white paint job. Some people might disagree with me, but I feel this is the best looking variant of the BAR colours, and getting rid of the silver nose cone which was seen on the previous season's car was an overall improvement to the livery. The BAR livery is an eye-catcher, and the team would catch the public's eye with its special edition livery for the United States Grand Prix. However, with all of that being said, I find it hard to rank the mostly featureless BAR any higher than 10th. Next up we have Sauber with its widely popular Red Bull PETRONAS colours. The aspect of this livery that doesn't really click with me and sees Sauber ranked so relatively low is the colour of the car's nose cone. Whilst it is invigorating to see the team devoting the spotlight to its new sponsors Credit Suisse in this way, and keeping the livery fresh is always a plus in my book, for one reason or another this move didn't really have the same effect as the famous yellow nose cones synonymous with Red Bull Formula One cars. Still, the overall look of the car is a winner, and the team's new characteristics would come to represent the Sauber team's rise as a constructor during this period, but due to tight competition from other teams, Sauber only manages 9th spot. At number 8 we have the factory-owned Jaguar team. I've always felt that from a team livery perspective, Jaguar did a great job with the hard act they had to follow in forebearers Stewart. Jaguar's iconic green livery managed to separate the new team from the old, yet still linked in expertly with Stewart's existing sponsors. For me at least, when the Jaguar first appeared on the grid, it was an instant classic. In particular, Eddie Irvine with his Jaguar-themed helmet always looked the part when driving for the team. There are no real discernible changes from last year's car, and the team has once again produced a magnificent livery which celebrates the history of the famed British sports car manufacturer. Another team which was never shy about showcasing its national racing colours, PROST, comes in at number 7. 2001 proved to be a tough final year for PROST, which by now raced with a much smaller sponsor portfolio than in seasons previous. If anything, I tend to favour liveries which have their own characteristics and aren't necessarily dominated by its sponsors. It's hard for me to go past PROST's brilliant shade of blue, and I'm a big fan of the team logo appearing on the car's side pods, which promotes a strong sense of camaraderie within the fledgling PROST camp. Additionally, the faint touches of red seen on the barge boards thanks to a deco and dynamic looking driver's numbers all add up to make PROST's final car a real standout. After 3 years of running with Buzzin' Hornets, Jordan returned in 2001 with a bite, running with its third and final animal mascot, the shark. Personally, I feel the shark is slightly underappreciated amongst F1 fans. It's a concept which seems to be less remembered than the Hornet or Snake monikers used by Jordan, possibly due to the team dropping lower into the pack by this stage. For me, the shark looks really pronounced and aggressive on the front of the car, whilst the shark fin has been executed in a clever way upon the sides of the car, once again bringing title sponsors BENSON and HEDGES to the fore. Yet again, the cigarette brand was experimenting with ways to make its sponsorship less obvious at tobacco ban races, and achieved this by adopting the slogan "Bitten Heroes." Special mention must go to the team for running with an American flag on its car, immediately following the September 11 attacks. However, in a year filled with spectacular liveries, Jordan are unable to manage any higher than 6th. For many people, I'm sure, this livery represents Ferrari at its absolute peak with Schumacher. Longtime sponsors Marlboro and fuel supplier Shell come together once again to form the focal point of arguably one of the most prestigious liveries ever seen on the grid. Naturally, it's hard to fault Ferrari during this time frame from any given standpoint, but perhaps the most reverent act the team undertook during season 2001 was during the Italian Grand Prix weekend, when its cars ran completely sponsorless and with black nose cones to mourn the lives lost from the September 11 attacks. In a world where it's unthinkable for a Formula 1 car to run without sponsors, the Scuderia's show of support proved to be a welcome sight amongst the never-ending exercise in marketing extravaganza that is modern Formula 1. Being a fellow Aussie, I for one have always been a big fan of the Stoddart-owned Minardi team, and feel the team's move to a black and white colour scheme in 2001 was a smart one. The team's new colours are those of Stoddart's European Aviation Air Charter Service, which also happened to be the same used by Australian football club Collingwood, of which Stoddart was a die-hard fan. Minardi has also worked its own team logo into their livery, transforming the car's angular nose cone into a long dagger. Later in the season, the team would acquire Magnum as sponsors, thanks to its driver Alex Young. However, I find that this new sponsor tended to upset the balance of the colours on this livery, and sadly the Minardi cars of this era would suffer from an over-proliferation of small-time sponsors in the years to follow. It's hard to keep a good livery down, and it's even harder to keep a great livery such as the 2001 McLaren from reaching the top. By this point, the West McLaren livery had very much settled and wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. All of the details which made the McLaren liveries of this time so prominent can be found here, from the team's fluid blend of white, silver and black, to its distinctive red nose cones, to its personalised driver decals which were seen at tobacco ban races. Each of these elements combined to create one of the most recognisable liveries in all of Formula 1, and even though the livery had remained largely the same since its introduction, I see no reason to rank McLaren any lower than third. Coming in at number 2 is one of my most favourite team engine pairings of all time, Williams BMW. Whilst I mostly prefer the original BMW livery that the team ran back in season 2000, there is still plenty to like about the team's 2001 livery. The team opted for an overall lighter shade of blue, which interchanged with the car's white canvas on a diagonal slant, and would remain largely unchanged for the next few seasons. One of the more fascinating characteristics to this livery is the "Keep Your Distance" message the team put on the reverse side of the car's rear wing, aimed at their rivals following a series of shunts from behind. The message was first seen at the San Marino Grand Prix, a race which happened to be Williams' first win in over 3 years. Before I announce my favourite livery from 2001, an honourable mention must go to the Toyota F1 team, which spent the 2001 season testing its Formula 1 prototype. Had the team actually raced during the season, I would have ranked this livery rather high, and even though it's only a testing livery, I've always been a much greater fan of this look than the design the team eventually went on to adopt. I admire the car's red and white contours, which give the car an authentic Japanese look, a look which the team's regular livery failed to replicate. And so, with Toyota's awesome test livery having been mentioned, it's time for the number one car on this countdown. Assuming top spot on the podium in 2001 is Arrows, with what I have always felt is their greatest team livery. Having first signed a deal with telecommunications company Orange in the year 2000, Arrows returned to the grid in 2001 with a slightly updated Orange Arrows livery, which reworked the colour patterns and reorganised the team's sponsors in a more concise way, thus producing what is in my opinion the most refined and enhanced version of the Orange Arrows livery. New sponsors Red Bull would also serve this livery well, blending in seamlessly on the engine case. Arrows during this period always managed to stand out on track with this eye-catching colour ensemble which was largely unseen in Formula 1 up until this point. It brings me great pleasure to award the number one spot to the perennially unlucky Arrows F1 team. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video. As always, I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are on the cars from this season and which season you think I should cover next. Until next time F1 fans, I bid you farewell.